Today we're going to talk about if taking private lessons is actually worth it when learning another language. My name is Azren. I run a business called the Calgary Language Nerds. We run classes, mostly private classes, for a whole bunch of different languages. If you want to look into working with myself or anyone on my team, please visit the link in the YouTube video description box, and we can chat further. So, is it worth taking private classes? Well, the answer is this. The answer is yes, but only if you use the private classes in a highly strategic way. If you just take private classes willy-nilly, what'll end up happening is you'll probably just spend a lot of money and you may or may not see a ton of progress. So let me explain what I mean. Private lessons are probably the most expensive or perhaps the second most expensive way to learn a language. There are many free apps, there are free reading resources, there are even apps that are paid, but they only cost $10 a month, $5 a month, something like that. Textbooks will run you like $40, $30, $50, $25, right? Whereas private lessons, it might run you, $20 for one class, $50 for one class. In the most expensive classes I've seen, even in my city, actually, for French classes, if you're looking for private French classes in my city, it's surprisingly expensive. It'll be like $60, $70, $80, $90 an hour for many places. I was like, wow. So it can get very, very expensive. So if you're going to take private classes, it has to be done in a strategic way. So then the question becomes, how do you take private classes in a strategic way? Well, let me give you some examples. There's lots of ways to do it. I'll give you some examples of how you might do it. One way to do it strategically is to use private instructors as a way to add fuel to your self-study. So for example, I've been learning Mandarin for 9 years. And what I do is I will bring questions to my private classes that I got while doing my self-study and ask my teacher. So I was doing my own thing for learning Mandarin by myself at home. And while I was doing it, I got questions. I was like, why did that word get used like this? What does this phrase mean? Oh, am I pronouncing that correctly? Is this idiom used frequently? Is it formal? Is it informal? I don't know. I'll bring those questions to my class and I'll ask my teacher. Because if I were to go find those answers to my questions by myself, it would take ages. I'd have to Google it. I'd have to look on YouTube. I'd have to find forums, and I might not even get the answer. But in the private class, I can just ask her, and it makes my learning journey much faster. Another strategic way you can use private classes is to save up for an intensive burst. I do this myself. So you might save up some money and say, listen, I'm going to go save up, and in 1 year, in 2 years, and whatever, in this amount of time, I'm going to go spend $1,000 or something like that. It might be expensive, but I'm going to go take like 3 hours of class a day for like a month. And you'll suddenly progress a crazy amount in that time. You'll progress so much. Intensive learning is probably the most foolproof way to learn a language. So saving up to say, I'm going to take some lessons, private, small group, whatever, I'm going to save up and then do something intensive is highly strategic because you can make significant progress in a very short period of time. That's another strategic way to use private lessons. I'll give you another option. You can use private lessons to make you do things that you typically won't do during your self-study. I'll give you examples. My mom is learning French. She doesn't like listening in French, like videos, podcasts. She doesn't like it. Even in English, she doesn't like watching videos and stuff like that. But to improve her French, it really would help her if she did listening. So she takes private classes and she takes them. And in the class, they actually watch videos in the class. So they watch it, they press pause, go like, what did that word mean? I didn't really catch that. Rewind, re-listen, right? Turn the subtitles on, turn the subtitles off. Like they were just watching stuff in class because she doesn't enjoy doing it by herself. I'm the same way with reading and writing. Reading I'm a little better with, but writing in particular, I'm awful. So when I'm learning a language that has a different script, that doesn't have an ABC alphabet, I'm not going to learn it by myself. Or maybe I'll learn it, but super slowly. But if I take a private class and the private teacher makes me do a little bit of reading and writing every class, like that will help me to improve. So that's another strategic way to use those private classes. As a tangent, actually, not really that relevant, but I want to tell you anyway. I have an assistant who works on my business. We have a weekly meeting. A part of that meeting is her making me do things that I don't want to do, but I actually want to get done. But I won't do it unless there's external accountability. Like there's my laptop is filled with old files and stuff, and it's a mess. So every time I sit down on Monday with her, she goes, okay, Azren, go clear out 10 files that you don't need on your computer. So every week, 10 files get deleted, 10 files get deleted, 10 files get deleted. And she praises me when I do more than 10. If I do like 20, she'll be like, oh, good job, Azren. I'm like, yeah, I know. She's like, you're an overachiever. I'm like, yeah, I am an overachiever. Thank you. So again, it's strategic, right? It's a strategic way. You might use your private lessons that way too, for that encouragement to have a friend, quote unquote, that you're learning with or learning from even. You might use it strategically for conversation practice. Conversation practice, you can find some relatively very affordable, often, instructors just for casual conversation on websites like italki, italki.com, right? It's wonderful. It's a wonderful way to do it. And then you can talk to people and get people to talk to in Spanish or whatever language for relatively reasonable rates. Right? Another strategic way, I'll just list some different ways. There's lots of strategic ways to use private lessons. Another one, and this would be, if you're going to work through my business, is a very good idea. Through me personally, even, it's not even really lessons, but to use me, specifically me, in my business, it probably need to be me, or there's one other person that possibly could do it as well. To use me or possibly one other person as a way just to give you feedback on your self-study, like how can you optimize the time that you're spending? And that would be something you just talk to me like once every month, once every 2 months. Like it's not even regular, but it's strategic, right? So you're spending extra money than you typically would in other places, but you do so strategically to make sure it's worth it. Whereas an app like Duolingo, you don't need to be strategic. If you download it and go, I hate this, undownload it, there's no, like, it doesn't matter per se. Although it's better, of course, you were strategic with it, of course, but because it's a free app, it doesn't matter as much if you're not strategic with it. So as a summary, I've been saying this throughout the entire video. Private lessons are worth it if you're going to be strategic about how you use them. They're not as worth it, although, let's leave it at that. If you're going to be strategic about why you're paying for them, what benefit you're going to pull from it, things like that, then yes, they're worth it. But if not, it just isn't worth it, of course. All right. Thanks for watching this. I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, comments, whatever it is, let me know in the comments below, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. See you later. Bye-bye.